Episode 007 of Sir Ulric hosts Money Matters. Make sure to click subscribe. I say money matters, all you hear is rat-tat-tatter. The noise distracts the normie from the ladder. Got used to the pain you see on TV? Think it can vanish with the right personality. Vote with the token controlled by the man. Complain about the results, the same world again. Vote with your money, reallocate. Put it somewhere not owned by Prince William and Kate. Self-custody, the way to avoid the tricks of the VC parade. Gotta learn about cold card, TREZOR safe, and the Blockstream Jade. Vote with your hands, vote with your feet. Go create value on Value Exchange Street. Around the corner, across the globe, don't let the state lock down the productivity you behold. Bitcoin is time, vote with your time, man. Right your wrongs so you can write your rhymes in. Commit to a standard while the whole world's sliming, like Drake, non-committal rental. Don't care how things are used up, like the central planners in the back trying to figure how to use ya. Bitcoin is hope, not Obama, word to your mama. I keep my Swan originals dope. Don't F with the ETF drama. Fred Krueger, Bitcoin a nightmare for crypto ventures. Iron Man can't save him. Thor Chain ain't no Avenger. A new cycle upon us means the cycle birds upon us. They say he has how much corn? I should have stayed anonymous. Ladies love Cool J 007, Timothy Dalton, and the Bitcoin poet, Pleb Underground's my homie, the lyricist, Walton. Let me take these shades off, okay? Welcome to episode 7 of Sir Ulric hosts Money Matters. As you see, my guest is Walton from the Pleb Underground. Before we say anything, I just want to know, Walton, how did I do?
I'd give it a 6.9 out of 10. I think it was good. There was a few things that I really liked. Timothy Dalton is actually my favorite Bond. And he's actually he only did 2 of them. Like I think there's been
that's right.
I don't know, like 50, like I don't know, 20, 30, 40 bonds, and he only did 2.
That's crazy.
Yeah. You mentioned Drake. The Drake curse finally got broken, right? He was pro Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Does he keep losing the Super Bowl bets or something?
Oh, apparently. No. Apparently, there's this thing, and you probably know this better than me because I don't watch basketball. Because unlike what Sean Harris says, basketball is definitely a shitcoin.
Is that what you were going to say on my Bitcoin ballers last year? If we actually kept going.
So like, look, each game is just like they're although they're definitely fungible shitcoins. Like each, I don't know. To me, each game's the same. But I don't know. Yeah. So apparently he bets on like a bunch of NBA games, or he's on the sideline with the NBA games. Whoever he's like buddying up with, or whoever he's like buddying up with, like no, but specifically for like other, I think not for like other games or things. Like he comes out like, oh, I'm a fan of this team. They then lose this match, and apparently, the Drake curse, as it's known, because you don't want Drake betting on you because then you lose. But apparently it got broken. I want to go back. I need to like read your rhyme, but I feel like there was a bunch of things in there that were cool.
I forgot to send. I didn't want to send it to you because I wanted to surprise you. So I'll send it to you after the show.
Of course. I think you should keep going. I like that you are. Again, it's like what's the point of these kind of things? Like, why do I rhyme? Maybe I guess is the question. Like, and
that was going to be my first question. So how about this? Tell me about your journey to becoming the lyricist you are today. Because for the people who don't know, they were like, "What the hell are y'all talking about? Rap and Bitcoin, basketball's a shitcoin." Walton on his show every week drops the most articulate, relevant raps, rhymes, whatever you want to call them, and they hit hard. And I'm like, what is this white boy from across the Atlantic doing, rapping as good as anyone from the inner city in America today? So it's like, I got to know, where are you getting this passion, this talent? Why don't you go ahead and share that with the audience?
Well, I appreciate your kind words. It's like I've always liked puns, right? Play on words, things that I don't know where there's a what's the word? It's like a linguistic joke, essentially, right? There's some sort of humor connected to two particular wordings, and I've always done those. And then I started, I don't know, a couple years ago, I was hosting a spaces called the Bitcoin Council of Autism that we used to do. I don't know, we did it for like I'd say about a year, but like sometimes these were for hours a day, multiple days a week. It was me, Shinobi, TC, and who else? A few other people, Uncle Jim, Magoo. This was like the beginning of the spaces days, and I'd host these things. I think I've hosted over 1,000 hours of spaces, and this is what I was doing before Pleb Underground. And I do these little like 2-line rhymes or like 4-line rhymes, like I don't know, by BTC, not BSV. Really, you oughta. Don't believe Calvin if he says she's his daughter. Was like one of these like I just come up with these little things. And
that was hot.
These 2-line rhymes, and I think they used to. I don't know. They wind up TC. I think they still wind up TC, but I kind of like that. Like it, and I don't know. Yeah, these little 2-line ones, and then I started doing. I wanted to do a Bitcoin Council of Autism podcast, but getting those guys wrangling them into it was hard work. And so I reached out to Phil about doing a podcast because he had a bunch of experience. My co-host at Pleb Underground, Chris. Bunch of experience doing things, so I wanted to know a bit about the technical side of things, and then we started doing the show. And this has been going since the summer of 2022, and I started at the beginning doing, I don't know, like a 4-line rhyme or something like this, or 8 lines. By the Christmas of the first year, so end of 2022, it was like 25, 30 lines. February of 2023, I did my first 44, and then basically for what has it been, over a year now. I think I would say I've been averaging like 40, 50 lines. I did the episode with Pierre Richard, I think was the record, 168 lines in the intro. In fairness, we had a week off before, so I was like, I had a bit more time to write. But I don't know, I write like 10 lines a day ish on average. Sometimes little things will come to me, little rhymes. I listen to a lot of music. Things often come to me when I'm moving. I might be at the gym, I might be walking, I might be driving.
And you got to jot it down, right?
Right. And so so like, how do you do it? You do it on paper? Do you do it on your phone? And a few times I've tried writing on paper, but I don't hate it, but it's on, I don't know, I like writing on my phone. It's weird. Like it's like I could do lots of edits. I can move things around.
Yeah, I just use my note apps. Like when I'm writing, when I'm planning my essays, like, and this one in particular, when I was planning this rap for you, I was like, if it came to me, and one time it came to me, it was 12 o'clock at night. I think I was like, I'm thinking, and I woke up and I'm like, oh damn, I need to write that one down. Then went back to sleep. And it's like, you got to write it down. You lose so many ideas that you don't note, and it's like,
it pisses me off. Like sometimes I'm like, I've got one there, and then like a couple minutes, I don't know, like maybe in the middle of a set, even like at the gym, and I'm like, and then like a minute later, I'm like, oh wait, what was that? Like, so annoying.
Happens.
That's the one time I don't pause. Is like if I'm in the middle of a set and I'm finishing the set, and then I'll try and write it down. But it's been a journey. Like it's influenced by many things. Of course, Bitcoin is one of the biggest ones, but like math, technology, physics, chemistry, philosophy. Like I've written about
relationships,
nature, like girls is definitely a feature in the creature, and it's been a. I just recorded an episode of Pleb Underground this evening with Alex Waltz, and we talked a bit about like what makes art, and he said it's about an artist feeling an emotion and trying to convey that through their art. And if someone else feels that emotion, then he thinks that's what makes it art. And it's a strange one, because I've always been a kind of math kind of guy. Like I've never thought I was particularly creative. I'm quite talented in the kitchen, but that's something that's evolved more recently. And like this with the rhymes, like it's something that's evolved more recently. And it's something that I don't even care if other people like it. I think that's what gives me some power with it. It's like, if you're
doing it for you.
I'm doing it for me, right? And I think if you're gonna be, you've got to, unlike I think maybe this is true of technology as well, but for things that you create, if you're creating them because you want to, because you like them, because you feel like you need to make this thing, and you keep going until you're happy with the result, it's a plus if someone else likes it. Like you don't need anyone else to like it. And I think it's there's some weeks that it's tough. Like I think last week I think I'd written 10 lines by Friday morning. And I think I wrote like 30 something that day, and so I had like, I don't know, 40 something line rhyme. And I feel like that it's difficult producing every week to like produce something new is a challenge. I have to say that. But it's something that I've always got. It is a it's not just a creative output. It's an emotional release. For sometimes, for some of these things, it's processing what's going on in my life and in the world around me, and distilling some of it. And I think
go ahead, continue.
I think that's what art's about, really. And but I feel very new in the I feel like a very new artist, and I don't even like calling myself that.
Well, I think you are, and I think the art that you exude carries a message that's important, and it's not only important to you, but important to those that would hear it if they were to open their ears. Now, you said that you make your art for yourself, and there are other people, and it could be art. You can make a tool, you can make a project for yourself, or you can make it for other aims. And I feel like, and your show covers this more than anyone, but when it comes down to these crypto projects, I feel like the basis of them is disingenuous at best. And I feel like, especially when Bitcoin came out and all of these other really smart people, coders, programmers, they said, you know what, I can go make that, and I can go make it better, allegedly, which they aren't trying to make it better for everyone. They're probably trying to make it better for their own pocketbooks. My question is, like, with the bull market here, you have these, this gains oriented mentality surrounding Bitcoin and everything else around. It's just fiat. And I'm wondering, like, you're from the UK. Like, is the crypto lobby, is the crypto shilling projects that as pervasive as what we see over in America?
I think you know this, but I've never bought a shitcoin, so I might not be the best person to answer this question. But I think that the types of characters that get into crypto are those with what I would, when I say get into crypto, I don't mean the people like gambling on them. I mean the people that are conspiring in these projects to fleece people,
the owners of the assets. Yeah,
right, the insiders, right? These people, I think, typically have high political quotient. And what I mean by political quotient is the ability to influence others. you've probably heard of intellectual quotient, IQ, emotional quotient, EQ, but political quotient, the ability to influence others and to manipulate things, the ability to, like, you might think, okay, you work in some job and you're like, okay, my boss seems like they're stupid and they seem like a dick. No one likes them. How are they successful? And it's because they have high PQ. And in the fiat world, where at the top of society you have politicians that don't just spend the money that they take in taxes, they spend more money, right? They spend money that gets printed. They have to have this ability to manipulate other people, this ability to influence other people, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to get away with it. And that trickles down through society. So big organizations, especially that have contracts with the state, will have people at the top of it that have high political quotient, because they have to interface well with the politicians who do as well. And so there's this process of selecting people in the fiat world, as in it's not natural selection, right? It's unnatural selection that's based around high political quotient, because the high, if you have high political quotient, you can get access to some of that printed money. And the people that you're, there's a little bit of a tangent here, but the people that you're talking about, that we talk about in crypto, that push these projects are these same kind of people. And so there you see them cozying up to various institutions. They might be educational, they might be political, they might be environmental, all sorts of things. But they also have an angle, right? They're trying to get paid. Crypto is the cheapest way to print your own money. Or it's you could say, I mean, I was going to say it's a decentralized way to print your own money. It's not, but it's you don't require the state, right? You don't have to get
yeah, they use the word decentralized because,
right?
Yeah, they use the word decentralized because they're subverting regulations. They're subverting the organizations that keep these projects, that keep these companies, that say, hey, here's a share of my company, here's an investment vehicle, trust me, bro. And they're saying, hey, we can go around that. And so it's like all those institutions are now scrambling to try to figure out how the hell do we regulate these crypto projects. And they purport to be like Bitcoin, but they're more so like money laundering mediums. Do you agree with that statement?
I'm not sure money laundering necessarily, but there's essentially three groups of people. There is the group that believes only the state should print money. Then there is the group of people that think that, well, anyone should be able to print money, but only if they do the appropriate work to do so. Maybe like Bitcoin is in that sort of category, right? Miners print money, but it's not without work. And then you have shitcoiners that essentially believe, well, anyone should be able to print money, and it doesn't really matter whether you've done work or not. To me, that's more what it is. It's in the fiat world where people have inflation to deal with. They're constantly looking for ways to not necessarily even get ahead, just to stay afloat. And because of monetary debasement, you have this contract, this social contract that's been broken down. You can't just save in fiat, store that time and energy, and then take that time and energy from the market in the future. It's less than that, right? Because of inflation. And so I think this leads to, what's the word? the erosion of people playing fair. And it's a survival instinct, you could argue. It's a hangover from the fiat world. It's, well, I can't just save and get ahead, or I can't just save and have a decent life, and so I've got to take shortcuts, or I've got to
gamble,
take advantage, or gamble.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people, I've heard of people in South America or Africa, you know, it's like they don't have, their money is dying around them. And if they don't participate in these crypto scams for the hope that it could, you know, go to the moon, then they're screwed anyways. And so, of course, the people that are teaching them, the people are there to teach them there's these alternative paths. They're not teaching them about Bitcoin. They're teaching them about these projects, and they're taking advantage of people in a compromised states. And you know, I feel like even in America, even in the UK, you know, these first world countries, these developed countries, we still have, you know, because of the trust we have in the custodian, there is still a marketability to someone knocking on your door and say, hey, I can provide this service for you and you can trust me to hold your wealth, when Bitcoin essentially by its programming does away with that. And I asked Phil this last week and he gave a great answer. Of course, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you as well. You guys on Pleb Underground, more proponents have a bigger push for self-custody than any other platform that I ever hear. What is Bitcoin without self-custody?
It's an IOU. It's as simple as that. And I think if you, the whole point of Bitcoin is that it's meant to be used without intermediaries or custodians. Like, there's a reason why we don't have either of those groups sponsoring Pleb Underground. We've refused multiple ones. It's antithetical to Bitcoin. To me, the reason. I mean, maybe there's a few, but like one of the biggest reasons gold failed as an inflation hedge is because it's not in self-custody. I mean, obviously you can't run a gold node. The supply is not, it doesn't have, what do you call it? Inelasticity with respect to demand. So like when the price jumps up, you get a bunch more gold miners going to, there's a few reasons, right? But one of the biggest ones is that, well, it's hard to like store it safely. And so therefore you give it to someone else to store it safely. And then they give you some paper that is equivalent to that value. And maybe they give some paper to some other people, and, you know, etc. Like I think if you don't have self-custody, it leads to dilution. I think we didn't have I don't really like this. I'm not really sure about the term cycle in Bitcoin. I think there's a lot of misunderstandings, but in the last cycle, I think the peak would have been higher if not for FTX, right? There were a bunch of people using exchanges as their custodian, and this custodian didn't have the Bitcoin. And you don't know they don't have the Bitcoin until you withdraw Bitcoin from it, right? If you don't hold your own keys, it's not your cheese.
Yeah.
Some people say that possession is 9/10 of the law. I tweeted a few years ago, except in Bitcoin where it's 10/10.
That's right. That's right. You can't lay claim to something, especially with its digital hard-coded scarcity. You know, it's not like the FDIC is ensuring that Bitcoin. They can't. That Bitcoin is hard-coded, and it's so much more precious than any amount of fiat that you can think of, because once it's gone, it's gone. And I don't think that people have that understanding, because a lot of the reason why is because most people nowadays don't even interact with gold. Like the scarcity dynamic of gold, even though is not nearly as scarce as Bitcoin, we're not used to interacting with scarcity. We're used to interacting with government IOUs that someone can just say, trust me, you're covered. But it's not truly covered, because from a monetary energy standpoint, monetary energy can't be destroyed or created. So that coverage is just being taken from somewhere else to pay you the number on that piece of paper. It's so important. Another question I want to ask is,
I was going to say just briefly on the FDIC bailouts. Essentially, you're saying like it's when if it gets lost, well, it gets like reprinted, right, and it gets essentially taken from everyone else. And you can't do that in Bitcoin.
That's right.
And it's funny. I think didn't Biden again today say that he's canceling student debt? You're not canceling debt. You're just transferring that debt to other people, right? You're transferring it to taxpayers. You're transferring it to productive people. You're stealing it from other people, right? You're, yeah. And I think it is a hard one for people to understand. People say, "Oh, but if I have Bitcoin, what about if I lose it?" Yeah, okay. With real sovereignty comes real responsibility.
We have outsourced our responsibility to the government class. The government says, you can be children forever. We will take care of you. We will give you the bank. You can be a child with all your wealth. Here's the bank. They'll take care of you for a fee. And that fee could be your right to access it. It could be as little as 1% or a fraction of a percent. But you've seen where banks have frozen their assets of people. You've seen where banks have stolen from people. Phil has his own story with how he told it on this show last week, how he didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't the criminal. The bank messed up and they punish him for their mess up. So why? Because it's their money and you're just renting the usage of it. People just will learn over time. And guess what? This cycle, I know, but as all these projects come about and these yield projects, I'm sure you guys have been talking about on your show as well, people are going to get wrecked, and then they're going to blame Bitcoin for that wrecking. It's almost like the meme where someone sticks a stick in their own bicycle and blames someone else that's not even in the picture. How long will this go on? Another question I wanted to ask you, Walton, is what is Bitcoin without no KYC? So in other words, it was like a double negative. What is Bitcoin if you cannot acquire it without KYCing yourself?
I like the second question better because it's not Bitcoin that gets KYC, it's you, right?
That's right.
You're saying what is it if we don't have KYC?
Yeah, like if Bitcoin, no, I guess what I'm saying is, I should have phrased this better. I'm rushing these questions because Phil had a problem last time. If for some reason in a certain timeline, you must KYC yourself in order to acquire Bitcoin, no matter what, no matter if you're at the edge of the world or in the middle of New York, what is the value of Bitcoin if you have to KYC yourself no matter what?
I don't think we know the answer to this question yet. With KYC, I guess it gets recorded how much Bitcoin you bought. How much you still have, though, is no one necessarily knows, right? If you withdraw from an exchange, are you sending it to yourself? Are you sending it to someone else? Chain analysis is probabilistic. It's not deterministic. Does Bitcoin die if everyone gets KYC'd? I'm not sure that's the case. I think I think it will drive more on-chain privacy, which then obfuscates things in at least in a future direction. I'm not sure I've answered your question properly here, but I think
that's good. Go ahead.
I think I don't know. I think the more and more people that I think before Bitcoin, I don't think my understanding of privacy was way less. Before Bitcoin, my understanding of ownership of something was way less. I think the more people that come into Bitcoin, whether they're KYC or not, hopefully start learning more about these kind of things, and then look to subvert it. I think KYC is an attack, mostly on normal hardworking people who are just trying to do something good for themselves. It's like gun registration. It's only the law-abiding citizens that register their guns, right? The criminals aren't registering their guns. So actually, it's
100%.
It's the same sort of thing. It's the same sort of thing.
Yeah. I think that this, and I asked this question not to hamstring anyone, not to catch anyone up, or to make someone commit to one or another. I think that what ends up happening is with this new asset that we call Bitcoin, it has, and like you said, like you didn't even think about security the way you did before pre-Bitcoin, the way you do post-Bitcoin, at least post your adoption. And I think that's what ends up happening is now we look at the world that we live in now and say, well, this has now added a clear another dimension, another variable into our overall equation of what it means to exist, what it means to have freedom, liberty, or all these other constructs that we say are in the pursuit of happiness, pursuit of prosperity. And so Bitcoin has its grades of how to acquire it. And we have to make sure that we understand the pluses and minuses of both, how much energy should be devoted to acquiring non-KYC Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, I don't want to get into euphemisms or phrasings, but getting off of zero is most important. And soon, once you get off of zero, or once you have skin in the game, you realize you need to have as much as you possibly can, because the more you discover what fiat is, the more you discover what Bitcoin is, your eyes open and you realize that you cannot nearly have enough savings in this asset, because it's going to change the way we transact for a long time going forward. I do want to ask you even another deeper question, and I'm working on a project right now from the same guy, different topic, but Dergigi put out an article. It was called "Bitcoin is Time." I think in 21 or 22. It's pretty profound.
My favorite article all time on Bitcoin.
Right on. So I will be, I want to talk about it at one point or another, but right now I'm talking about Bitcoin's digital scarcity. I'll be doing that for my other projects, but that's not the point. Dergigi, Bitcoin is time. Mind blown, of course. Explain from your perspective, Walton, the relationship between Bitcoin, time, and the ownership of each. We've had our own conversations about that in private, but I kind of want you to embellish that. What does it mean to own your Bitcoin, to own your time? Talk to me.
So time is your own time is the only thing that's more scarce than Bitcoin. There will always be more Bitcoin you can acquire, even if you're, spook sailor. Like you can't acquire more time. You just can't. Like, Brian Johnson, you can try, bro, but it's not happening. Yeah, you can max.
Is that the pale guy with the vitamins?
The like vampire looking dude. Yeah, that guy. You can. Oh, it's ironic actually, because actually, the more you get into Bitcoin, the more you start making other improvements to your life. Like I cut 45 pounds, like post Bitcoin. I started building in a number of different ways. I don't like Bitcoin as hope, but I do think Bitcoin saves lives. I think understanding that you can store your time and energy makes you then invest your time and energy more proactively. I think to understand Bitcoin, I think you have to appreciate Bitcoin. You have to appreciate your own time. But once you appreciate Bitcoin, you appreciate your time, I think, even more. I've forgotten the question now. To be honest, you're saying Bitcoin time and
Bitcoin time, yeah, like, and the ownership of each, like the value proposition of actually owning. Yeah,
can you own your own time? Like, can you own time? I don't know. You can. When we talk about ownership of time, I think we mean like, it's about not having someone else have the power over you to tell you need to be somewhere at a particular time, right? That's what we mean. Ownership of time means you get to choose where you are, what you're doing. Obviously, you have responsibilities, but like a bunch of responsibilities, you choose to have them, right? So it's if you're I don't know, you're doing family things, that's usually a responsibility you're choosing to make. Whereas if you're tied to a job, you don't have that same time freedom to do what you want when you want. Buying Bitcoin is definitely one of the best decisions I've ever made, but being self-employed, I think might be higher than that. I've been in Bitcoin for like 6 years now. I've been self-employed for 9. And the driver for self-employment was about appreciating my own time and wanting to own my own time. And rather than sell, a big chunk of it to a corporation and try and claw it back over years or decades, it's saying, no, I am the sovereign owner of my time, and I'm gonna sell it more discreetly. And with self-employment, you're also cutting out intermediaries, something that Bitcoin does, right? If you're working for a company, there is, management is an intermediary and they take a cut. Now, do they deserve to? I mean, that's a whole other conversation. Are they taking on risk by, etc.? Probably. But if you're willing to take on risk yourself, there can be, you can own more of your time. Does it come with more responsibilities? Yeah. But like I said earlier, with true sovereignty comes real responsibility.
No, that is true. I mean, you were going through so many different use cases that I'm aware of. While I'm an individual contractor in one regard, I'm also a full-time employee in another regard. And guess what? That full-time employee, when they charge for my services to their customer, I make this much money from my company, but they make this much money from their customer. And it's like that gap is that risk that you were talking about, where it's like, I don't have to worry about that. And it's a matter of, hey, is that risk worth it to me? Is the idea that my company can find customers for me to service, and then when that customer is gone, that the company will take care of that for me. Insurance, retire, 401ks, if people contribute to that, I minimize the
when you say insurance, you mean medical?
Yeah, medical. There is a life policy that they offer. I don't mess with that.
I think it's a very US centric concept that that you have to. That I need a job for medical. I'm a big fan of the show It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and there's one episode where they become like crack junkies or something, such that then they can get medical. Or like two of them sign up for a job. There's only one job, but they sign up together because they want the medical. Like it's like there's just like weird things people seem to do. But I mean,
it's for the thirst. I guess our insurance, our healthcare costs are so extravagant. I imagine that healthcare costs for you guys is probably a little more manageable, and it's like insurance isn't something that you have to make a big decision about. Is that correct?
I mean, yeah, we have public health.
That's it. Okay, yeah, so there you go.
I had leukemia as a teenager, and it probably would have cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. That's probably one of the reasons I appreciate time, is because I don't take it for granted.
Right on.
But the I don't know. I think again, it's regulation doesn't serve the people. Regulation often acts as a moat around established corporations, and I think the biggest problem with the US medical system is vertical integration. And what I mean by that is like the insurance companies owning the hospitals and owning the drug company or whatever. Like there's too much vertical integration, and then regulation around these towers then means that then you, even though there is like optionality, there isn't real competition because you don't get to choose as you know as much as you should. And I think if again there's just too many middlemen all taking their
I find it funny how the most regulated institutions that we have in our society, our modern day society, education, in healthcare, what else is there? Education, healthcare. There's one other that is always owned by the government. Whether it's like energy,
environmental. Energy.
All of that stuff. It seems like those are the things that are costing us more and more and more. Whereas the private industry things like televisions, smartphones, their cost seems to be pretty stagnant. Of course, there's a technology dynamic. Technology is deflationary. Shout out Jeff Booth, but it's like private industry and private innovation, seems to be deflationary as well. And when you have these government entities that have this bloated administrative state for every one person that may create value, there's 5 people watching over their shoulder. And it's like, where is the efficiency? Where is the productivity? And consequently, you have these institutions that we have to have. We have to have healthcare. We have to have education. We have to have energy. And they're costing us more and more and more every year. And we pretend the collective the normie existence pretends like this is just how it needs to be. And I just don't. I think Bitcoin kind of fixes this. Would you say? I kind of want to get into the future stuff later, but we might as well. I'd say in the next 50 years, as Bitcoin adoption rises and these fiat networks inflate into oblivion, do those kind of things get fixed? And if so, like, how do you see them fixing?
So I think if organizations tied to the state don't have to be efficient because they can just have printed money given to them, right? If you're a private enterprise, the buck stops with you. You don't. I mean, well, maybe you do get bailed out if you're a big enough private enterprise, right? If you're one of these corporate giants, you get bailed out. We have this thing called corporate socialism, right? That I think is
I call it crony capitalism. Yeah,
sure. I to me it's socialism because they're getting bailed out. But it's not capitalism. It's not socialism. It's somewhere in the middle, right? It's where big corporates are too big to fail.
Allegedly,
as determined by allegedly, right
by Janet Yellen or this treasurer,
And I don't know. Maybe there are some times where actually, if they were allowed to fail, like it really would cause a lot of problems for many voters, right? For many citizens, and in the short term, yeah, it's a bad thing. But if you continuously, sorry, as in like you could argue a bailout is good for a particular subsection of society in the short term, but over the long term, like it drives these inefficiencies that you're talking about, because, well, if we fuck up, well, we're gonna get looked after, right? It drives this, like, the state is our god, and protector kind of mentality. Your question is like, does Bitcoin fix this societal behavior, this psychology of being looked after? Maybe. I guess the question is, what does the state look like in 50 years?
Yeah,
that's a long time. But
and that's the kind of thing. Oh, go ahead, continue.
I think the if you want there to make real, if you want progress, if you want Bitcoin to fix things, there's I've talked about this a bunch before, but not for a while. Like, people say, you fix the money, you fix the world. No, there's like a million fucking steps in between. It's, you fix the money, you start saving in that money, you lower your time preference, you start making real changes to your own life, you get stronger, you get healthier in a bunch of different ways. You become more self-reliant, and then you can start bringing people under your wing, family, friends, building families, building businesses. But it's just like Bitcoin adoption is bottom up, the fixing of the world is also bottom up, and it only comes from building local strength. I say local, like, it's obviously happening all over the world, but like, you live in one place. The people that you care about are in one place, and hopefully you're in a relatively similar place. It's not always true, but there's so many things that you can worry about, and you can, all over the world, that you can care about, but how many of those can you meaningfully change? Not really very many, despite what many charities will try and tell you. Should you give to charity? Yeah, but I think charity starts at home, and you can. There's a lot. Ironically, a lot of people that give to charity maybe aren't in the best financial position themselves, but they're well-intentioned people. They're people that want to care for other people. But I think you have to build up. We have to decentralize society, and the only way to do that is with strong families that stick together and help each other, and build legacies. Now, I don't mean like getting your name printed on some library in a college or university. I mean having a family that has real values that get passed on from generation to generation. And is that possible over many generations? I don't know. But they have this, what is it, like, hard times make strong men make good times creates weak men, and then it all goes to shit. Maybe. But I think because Bitcoin, unlike other money, comes with real work. Like, if you understand proof of work, then I think that kind of value gets passed on. So I think Bitcoiners, unlike other groups that have wealth, are going to be especially focused on making sure their their children and future generations value work, value creating real value in the real world, rather than just living off wealth that may already exist. Now, we'll see. We'll see if that happens. As you said, it's 50 years. Like I'll be turning 35 in a few weeks' time. Like it's 50 years. I might be dead by then, bro. Like,
you know, you unpacked so much there. First of all, you know, charity begins at home. You know, my mom always used to. She still says that when she sees all these far off funds and charities and organizations. I'm like, there are people around the corner that could use all those resources. And we're always looking above past them. And so I do think that, you know, Bitcoin is based on Austrian economics principles. And one of those principles is Crusoean economics, bringing the economic theory back to the atomic unit, mano y mano, person to person, versus Keynesian, which is very, very top down, collectivist, that your incentives and my incentives don't individually matter. It's about what matters to the big giant machine. And the bigger the machine, the more important it is, which is not necessarily true. Every individual component is very, very important. Additionally, when we talk about bailouts, it's funny that we don't necessarily want the world to burn. That if a company messes up, or if an institution messes up and they look for support, that support can come as long as it comes from savings. And what we do know is that the money that we use is not based on savings, it's based on debt. And so if a government in some other timeline, not this one, actually had savings, and if Bitcoin was our monetary system, maybe you would see a future government saying, hey, yeah, we have this money stored away for a rainy day for something that we consider critical to the economy. We're going to send them some money, but not we'll just print something on our centralized ledger and don't worry, just business as usual. That monetary energy comes from somewhere. But if it's savings, then that is solvent and is legitimate money. And I think that that's what potentially Bitcoin could bring to the world if we stop using this debt-based monetary system. There's something else I wanted to ask you. And, you know, regular people of different categories, newbies, veterans, you know, OGs, people have been through a cycle or two. I know we ain't using the cycle word, but a cycle or two, and have been in Bitcoin. But let's just say for the regulars, there's someone watching Money Matters and they say, wow, like, you know, I see this, I get it. Walton spoke to the heart. I got 10,000 pounds. I got 10,000 pounds and I want to get into Bitcoin. Well, what would you say if they came up to you and say, hey, I got 5 figures, I want to drop on Bitcoin? What would you tell them are their next recommended steps?
I mean, I'd ask more about their situation. I'd ask more about their time frames. I think I have I don't know, there's a few people I know that are sort of in this position. It's like I was, and I've talked, you know, they've seen Bitcoin go up, you know, 50% or 100% since I started talking about Bitcoin. People need to do what's right for them. One thing amuses me about Bitcoin is that they try to suggest what other people should do with their money. It's like, well, it's their money. Like if you are, I think if you're a real Bitcoiner, then you should really believe in self-sovereignty. And that doesn't just mean, okay, you hold your own keys. It means that you as an individual feel empowered to do what you want with your money, your time, your energy. As long as it's not hurting other people, right? But if it depends on how long I've got to talk to them as well. Like if I've only got like 10 seconds less, then I'm just saying smash buy and stop being a pussy. But are they someone that then freaks out when it drops 20% the next week, like, or something like this? I'm trying to think, like when I first got into I really didn't have like anything. I don't know if I bought. Probably like £1,000 ago. Like I really, not very much. That's probably like half of what I had. I probably had like 2 grand or something. And it's like I bought some, and then the price dropped. I'm like, yeah, wait a second, but this is an opportunity, and I don't think you need to be that. Like, I mean, I'm a numbers guy, but you don't need to be that much of a numbers guy to go, well, if I now buy at this point, I'm lowering my average buy price, and so I don't need it to go up as much when for me to be in profit. And then of course you later think, oh well, being taking profits is actually what you do when you buy Bitcoin rather than when you sell it. But we're not going to get into that just right now. Yeah, it's a lot of this comes down to personal situation, and I don't think you can tell someone else what they should do. I think you should. I tell people they need to learn more about Bitcoin, and I tell them also that when I learn more and more about Bitcoin, and when I start buying Bitcoin, I then just go, "Oh fuck! I really need to kind of get a groove on and buy more. Like I need to be." People go, "Oh, I'm too late." I'm like, "Well, that's how I felt," and I still, I don't think you can be. I don't think you can be too late. Now, can you chuck all your money in one go and then the price drop? Sure. Does that mean you're too late? Well, it depends on your time frame. Like if you're looking in weeks and months, if you're wanting to save for something that's next year, maybe you shouldn't put it all in Bitcoin. Do I put all of my money in Bitcoin, try and live on zero, and then pay my taxes, months after, like later on, and hope, yeah, I do that. But that's because I have a relatively high risk tolerance. And yeah, I think it's a very, very personal thing. I think if you're like, everyone slates Tina, right? Like oh, this guy doesn't actually believe that there is no alternative to Bitcoin. Like, yeah, but he's also like old and wanting to draw down. Like people like, why do people use wealth managers and hedge funds and things? It's not just about diversification and spreading risk and these sorts of things. It's a little bit more elegant than that. It's about, well, how can you, like the one group of smart people in finance are actuaries, right? People that do pension planning, like because it's how do you preserve wealth while drawing down on it regularly. I think in the Bitcoin space, many of us are younger and we're not really thinking like that. We're thinking, well, just how do we build and preserve wealth? We're not looking to like do regular drawdowns. We're looking to cover our, I mean, unless you're a real OG, cover our expenses with ongoing income. We're not looking to cover expenses with savings. And I think if that's the case, your what you do with your money is quite different. So I think, yeah, it's a very, very personal thing.
No, I appreciate that answer. And I think that really does sum up the nature of Bitcoin. And also the weird nature of the echo chamber that develops, in certain demographics, Bitcoin, Twitter, just like any other echo chamber, whether it's Reddit, Bitcoin, Twitter, basketball, Twitter. We all have these dispositions of what is almost sacrilegious and what is acceptable. And we have to kind of take a step back and understand that, Bitcoin crosses cultures, it crosses it crosses age groups, it crosses generations, it crosses all different types of ways we are different from one another. And, the worst thing that we can actually do is try to push our worldview on how other people should spend their money. That's what the government does anyways right now. So why are we becoming this new government? Let's throw off the old and put on the new, to each their own. As long as you aren't infringing on other people's rights.
I think it's also about how you like get other people. Like if you want other people to make what you think is a right decision, they need to understand why that's the right decision. You can't just, I think there's a lot of people in Bitcoin, there's a lot of smart people in Bitcoin, but there aren't necessarily many good educators in Bitcoin. Like some of the most, there's definitely quite a few, but there's a lot of people who are, say, very, very technical, but they aren't very good educators, or to be a good educator, you need to understand where someone is, the misconceptions they have, and tackle them in their
world,
the pace of the learner, at the pace of the learner. You can't just because you learn Bitcoin in however much time, and when I say learn Bitcoin, you can't really learn Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like, just because you got to where you are in a certain amount of time, other people can't, and the route that they take to get to there, again, is going to be different. It's education is very, very personal, and you need to be patient. People talk about, a lot of people in Bitcoin talk about low time preference. How low time preference are you when you're trying to orange pill other people? I don't believe people can be orange pilled. I think an individual orange pills themselves. You can spark curiosity, but it's only once they take that education as an individual responsibility that they then are likely to adopt Bitcoin. It's only when their curiosity is sufficiently sparked that they start asking more and more questions, and not just gotcha questions, right? Questions where they're actually trying to learn, or even where where they don't think they can be proved wrong, but if they are, they change their position. That's when this person is going to adopt Bitcoin in a proper way. Yeah, okay. Some people might buy some Bitcoin. To me, that doesn't mean that they're
a Bitcoiner.
Bitcoin.
That's right.
Yeah.
You can take a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And it's a beautiful thing when you see that horse actually drinking of what I would call the monetary revolution. I want to go to some fun things real quick for our last question. Last year we had a great time in Miami. You threw the
we did.
Taco Pleb Underground event. If you see the back of the shirt, it's labeled 2023 Miami Conference. All right, it's 2 months until the next one. I haven't heard anything about the 2024's version. I know you got a plane coming down to Nashville. Are you throwing another Taco Pleb event? And also, of course, are you going to pull Phil into the event? Because I know he kind of like, I'm not sure.
We'll see. I mean, Phil's his own person. We'll see what I can do. It's like I tried to get him just to come to Atlanta, which is like one more state over for TabConf last year in AMC. No, didn't happen. I got him to come to Miami, which is a few hours drive for him. Like, we'll see. Is there going to be am I going to do Friday night tacos in Nashville? Maybe it won't be tacos.
It probably won't be tacos in Nashville.
There will be a maybe there'll be some sort of like barbecue pleb event. I think we'll do it on Friday night. Like, it's funny. Sometimes I'll go to local meetups or Bitcoin conferences, and people say, "What do you do in Bitcoin?" I say, "I have fun." and I try to help other people have fun.
That's right.
I think there's a lot of serious stuff to be done, but there's also a lot of space for the community that apparently doesn't exist. I don't know. Like you want Bitcoin to succeed? Well, maybe try and help people that are actually doing real work, like as developers, etc. Maybe try and help them have a better life, and maybe they'll be more sustainable at, being able to do this. Maybe help them to have fun. Yeah, we're gonna do something. We're gonna do something in Nashville for sure.
Well, I tell you that you do great work with your podcast that's been going on for now over a year with Coin Icarus, and I'm proud to be an honorary member of that group. If you guys go to their website, I think friend of the show, I got my little Substack on there, and I will say that you and Phil have impacted me. And when I first got this podcast, two of the first people I wanted to make sure I got on this show was you two. And if you need any help organizing 2024 Pleb Underground event in Nashville, you know who to call. Thank you for coming on the show, and I'll see you on the interwebs. Okay, so that was episode 007 with Walton. Again, these are the type of people that they do such good work, and in my opinion, are undervalued. Go check out the Pleb Underground podcast. Go subscribe to their YouTube and really get that based, not short-term perspective on what Bitcoin is. If you watch their show, you're going to lower your time preference, and it's going to help you become a more grounded, more mature Bitcoiner. I am Sir Ulric, like my father before me. See you next week when we talk to another creative member in the Bitcoin space.